So this is my first chance to do some content on sports teams, and so tonight I'm going to do my first episode of what I'm going to call the HuskCast. Although this will only have one or two things to do with the Huskers, and there will be a couple other things that'll deal with other sports in general type activities that are going on out there. Essentially, I wanted to touch base on a couple of things while I had it fresh in my head today. This is kind of like my cons cast where I'll do them periodically. I don't know that I'll have a regular basis feature, whether I'll do them once a week, whether I'll do them every couple weeks when the mood hits me, exactly how I'll do this. But for now, don't expect it on a regular basis, but maybe once a week or once every couple weeks. But this first one, the mood struck me especially today because we found out today about Urban Meyer and his dealings with one of his assistants in terms of his assistant's domestic abuse of his spouse, of his wife. And so apparently this started back in 2009. The biggest piece to this and what has gotten Urban Meyer in some hot water is everything that appeared to center around 2015, where there was some abuse going on at that point in time. This is also the time frame approximately when I believe the spouse then filed for divorce and the divorce took place with them. Part of the reason this all blew up is because last week at Big Ten Media Days, Urban Meyer said he didn't know anything about anything that happened in 2015 regarding this assistant. They fired the assistant last week. Ohio State did, but then come today, Brett McMurphy, who is actually was one of my favorite sports reporters and specifically college football reporters when he was at ESPN, broke the news today basically with a series of photographs of texts that took place between the spouse of this assistant and Urban Meyer's wife. And so there's a whole series of tweets that took texts, not tweets, texts that took place between these two, and also a recorded video of her describing some of the events as they occurred, and her providing this along with having provided apparently the Urban Meyer spouse also some photographic evidence of what was going on. And so it's interesting to see all this evidence come out and exactly what the university was going to do about this, considering the impression had already been put out there that by Urban Meyer that there was nothing factual in anything that happened in 2015, and then Brett was able to come back and actually provide the evidence showing no, something did happen in 2015 and your wife was very aware of it, and the inferred likelihood is that at some point he likely knew as well about what happened there. So my thoughts on this are this. I think that the university did at least the first step right in terms of essentially putting him on paid leave. I think that's the first step you have to do in this. But if the allegations are even halfway accurate, I think you have to let him go, because in today's day and age, you have to know better than to essentially cover up and not report these types of allegations, at least to the university and likely to the authorities. And apparently there's some evidence as well about calls to the authorities that had also been done in this case as well. So I'm just of the opinion that I think you have to release Urban Meyer at this point. It's just interesting being a part of the Big Ten with the Huskers that this would happen within the conference, and that you would have somebody that would think that he could get away with covering up something like this in today's day and age, where people are watched fairly closely. And something like this, where you have so many parties that are involved, the likelihood that something was going to come out is pretty great. And there are bits and pieces to this going clear back to 2009, when the wife indicated that an assistant, some type of person that had fairly significant ties to Florida, or to either Florida or to the coaching staff. I wasn't quite sure which, but that individual came in and basically I wouldn't say threatened her, but certainly put pretty heavy influence on her, on the spouse, to not report this, essentially saying your husband won't have a job if you report this. And so that was another key aspect to this that caused some significant question marks as to what kind of undue influence was also being put on in this case. Actually, you know what? I've got other people that are kind of influencing me here at home. So I think at this point, I'm going to touch base on that. I did want to say I thought it was very wrong for everything that happened in Scott Frost's case, where his garage was burglarized. I thought that was kind of insane. It does sound like some of the paraphernalia that he was saying was stolen was actually found within his home, but there are still several pieces apparently that were missing as a result of the burglary. And one other thing that I did want to kind of touch on is we do have the Husker season coming up. I may do a couple videos just on my impressions of what I think the Huskers' potential is for the season, and exactly what I think of some of the returners they've got. I also may just touch on some of the fan aspects of what I expect for the season, and how I think maybe people should approach the season. I would mention that if you get a chance to see this video beforehand, the Husker Fan Day is coming up on the 18th. My son and I will be there. We live about 5 miles from the stadium, so it should be a pretty exciting time. And so, but I do want to thank you if you had a chance to watch this video. If you liked what you saw in the video, please give us a thumbs up. Give us a comment down below. If you didn't like the video, give us a thumbs down. Comment what we could do better in the video, exactly what you didn't like about the video. And then as well, if you like the content that you've seen on the channel, appreciate it if you give us a subscribe, and I'd love to chat with you a little bit more about that. Thank you very much, everyone. You have a great night, and Husk on!